Hey everyone, this is Jungkook. Before we start, I want to know where you're listening from. Drop your country in the comments below. I don't really know how to begin this, because this isn't just a story. It's a confession, something that's been sitting in my chest for months, maybe years. And tonight, before I step into what's supposed to be the happiest chapter of my life, I feel like I owe you, my fans, my brothers, my family, the truth. I've always been honest in my music, in my performances, in the way I try to live. But this one feels different. It's not about fame, rumors, or some viral moment. It's about love. It's about family. And it's about how fragile a heart can be when two worlds you care about suddenly collide. Yesterday, my mom met my fiancé. For a few hours, I thought everything was going fine. Polite laughter, careful smiles, the kind that hide questions. My mom has always been strong, the kind of woman who sees life as a mountain to climb, not something to complain about. I got that from her, the discipline, the belief that everything worth having must be earned. But that day, something felt different. I could see it in her eyes, that hesitation, that silence between sentences that said more than words ever could. I didn't know why, not until later that night when I found her sitting alone in the kitchen, holding an old photo. It was a picture of me and my ex. I hadn't seen that photo in years. My mom was staring at it like it was a memory she couldn't let go of. When she finally looked up, her eyes were filled with something I couldn't recognize. Not anger, not disappointment, but something deeper, sadder. She said, "I saw her today." At first, I thought she meant my fiancé. But then she whispered my ex's name, and my heart just stopped. Apparently, they'd run into each other that morning. Pure coincidence, or maybe fate. My ex had been in town for an event, and somehow they ended up in the same cafe before our family lunch. And just like that, the past I thought I'd buried came back to stand in front of my future. People don't realize how heavy it is to carry old love when you're trying to build a new one, especially when that love wasn't bad. It just ended before it was supposed to. My ex wasn't just someone I dated. She was someone who grew with me when I was still figuring out who Jungkook was outside of BTS. Back then, I was just a boy with dreams too big for his own body, trying to balance fame and feelings, tours and truth. She was patient. She saw me at my most human, when I came home from rehearsals exhausted, when I questioned my worth, when the noise of the world felt too loud. She loved me quietly, and for a while, that quiet was enough, until it wasn't. When we broke up, it wasn't dramatic. No screaming fights, no cold goodbyes. It was like a sunset, slow, inevitable, and painfully beautiful. We both knew it was time. I needed to grow, and she needed to breathe. I thought my mom had moved on too. She never said much, but I knew she liked her, maybe even loved her like her own daughter. So when they met again, all those memories came back, sharper than before. She told me, "She still cares about you." I could see it in her eyes. And I didn't know how to respond, because part of me had felt it too when I saw my ex at an award show last year. That flicker, that unspoken recognition that something once real still existed in another form. But then my mom said, "I can't accept your bride yet." That broke me. Not because I was angry, but because I understood her too well. My mom isn't someone who judges easily. When she says something like that, it's not out of malice, it's out of fear. Fear that her son might be chasing something too fast, too soon, or replacing something that was never meant to be replaced. She said, "Your fiancé is kind, beautiful, respectful, but she doesn't look at you the way she did." Those words haunted me, because love isn't something you can measure in glances. But somehow, in that moment, I felt small, like maybe she was right. That night, I called Jimin. He didn't say much at first, he just listened. He's always been the quiet voice of empathy in my life. After a long pause, he said, "Maybe your mom isn't rejecting her. Maybe she's just scared of losing the version of you she still keeps in her heart." That hit me hard. My mom still sees me as her little boy from Busan, the one who left home chasing music and came back a man. Maybe for her, letting me go into marriage feels like losing me again, just like the day I left for Seoul. Tae called me later that night, too. He laughed and said, "Hyungnim just needs time." But behind the humor, I heard concern. He's seen me through every kind of heartbreak, from teenage crushes to the ones that felt like storms. He told me to focus on the love that's real now, not the ghosts of what once was. Your ex is part of your story, he said. But she's not your ending. He was right. Still, something inside me ached. Not for my ex, but for the version of me that once loved her with the simplicity that fame later stole. The next morning, I went to see my mom. She was making breakfast like nothing happened. I sat down and told her, "Mom, I know you're worried, but love isn't about comparison. It's about choice. I chose her because she makes me calm, not because she makes me forget." She didn't respond right away. She just kept stirring the soup quietly. Then she said softly, "I know, Jungkook, but sometimes a mother's heart can't catch up with her son's choices." I smiled weakly. "Then I'll wait for your heart, Mom." Later that day, I went to the studio. RM was there, working on lyrics. I told him everything, and he leaned back with that thoughtful look he always has. "Sometimes love isn't about starting over," he said. "It's about continuing differently. Your mom is holding on to the continuity of your story, but you're trying to write a new chapter. It's hard for her to read it when she still loves the old one. That's Namjoon for you, always turning emotion into poetry." Suga came in later, half asleep, holding his coffee. I told him what was going on, expecting some sarcastic remark, but he surprised me. "Your mom's love isn't competing with your fiancé's love," he said softly. "It's protecting your heart from what hurt you before. Sometimes parents don't know how to express fear, so it comes out as rejection." And suddenly, everything made sense. It wasn't that my mom couldn't accept my bride. She was scared of seeing me hurt again. Scared that I might lose myself the way I once did. That night, I went for a drive. No cameras, no security, just me and the city. The streets of Seoul were glowing in the rain, and I rolled down the window to feel the cold air on my face. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking like an idol or a performer. I was just a man caught between past and future, between a mother's love and a lover's embrace. I thought about Army too, how you've seen me grow, stumble, rise again. You've watched me through every stage of becoming, the quiet boy with a dream, the performer who gave everything, the man who's finally learning to live for himself. I know some of you might relate, that feeling of trying to make everyone happy and realizing you can't. That no matter how carefully you walk, someone's heart will still ache. But real love isn't about pleasing everyone. It's about standing in the truth of what you feel, even when it's uncomfortable. I think that's what this season of my life is teaching me, to be brave enough to love again, but humble enough to honor where I came from. Before I go, I want to say something, not as Jungkook of BTS, but as Jungkook the son, the man, the human being who's still figuring it out. Mom, if you're listening, I understand. You don't have to rush to accept her. Just know that she loves me in ways that make me stronger, not weaker. And to my ex, wherever you are, thank you for being part of my beginning. You helped me learn what love could be. And because of that, I can love better now. Sometimes life doesn't give you closure, it gives you clarity. I think that's what I've found. I'm not trying to erase the past. I'm just choosing to live fully in the present. Because at the end of the day, love isn't about who we once were. It's about who we're becoming together. So that's where my story begins tonight, between what was and what will be, between the boy my mom raised and the man I'm trying to become. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. When I woke up the next morning, the sunlight felt different. Not brighter, not softer, just quieter. Like even the day itself was waiting for me to make a decision about where my heart was going to go. I lay there for a while, listening to the hum of the city. I thought about everything my mom said, everything I felt, and everything I didn't say back. Silence sometimes weighs more than words, especially when it comes from the people you love most. Later that day, I met the members again for rehearsal, Jimin stretching, Taeyong humming to himself, Namjoon scrolling through his lyrics, Jean cracking jokes to ease the mood, Hobie dancing like the room was his stage, and Yoongi sipping his coffee in peace. For a moment, everything felt simple again. Music has always been my safe place. No matter how heavy life feels, it reminds me why I started. When the melody began and our voices blended, I realized something. Love and music aren't so different. Both require honesty. Both need rhythm, patience, and faith. Both hurt sometimes, but both heal too. As I stood on that stage, even just for rehearsal, I looked around at my brothers and thought, this is love too. Not romantic, Not dramatic, just pure connection. The kind that lasts through years, tears and laughter. That night, I went home and sat beside my mom. We didn't talk much. She handed me a small box. Inside was that old photo of me and my ex, but behind it was another picture I hadn't seen before. Me, as a little boy, sleeping on her lap after my first vocal competition. She smiled softly and said, "That's the first time I saw you fall in love with music." And I understood. Maybe all love, in the end, returns to where it began, with the people who taught us how to feel. Tomorrow I'll keep walking forward, not as the perfect son or the perfect man, but as someone learning, falling, loving, and standing back up again. And if there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that love, no matter how complicated, is still the most beautiful song I'll ever sing.